All right, so the guys are passing out the syllabus for the quarter, and then also 2 maps that we'll be using tonight, and that hopefully you can use after tonight as well. And so you'll see that one of the maps is the Mediterranean area, and then the other map is Israel, the main core and central part of Israel. And so as we start tonight, and I guess you could take a quick look at the syllabus there if you have it. So, first class, introduction with Tracy. Tim had that first class for the introduction on the cycle, the first level of the 3-layer approach and cycle. And then so that first class that I did is, this is a continuation of that class, so it's the first 2 classes for the history and geography part. And so if you see over there on the right column, the reference, so that lessons 1 to 5, that's in reference in Bob and Sandra's book that we're using. So last class, we started with this slide, and so it's showing a couple things. So one is just the general area that we're in, the part of the world that we're in, and of course we talked about Sunday how we get there, what it would take to get there now if we wanted to go there, and so what we're looking at there in the pink, kind of over to the right side, is most of the Old Testament activity, areas where the Old Testament's happening. And then in the green, kind of upper left, so we're looking at what would be like modern-day Turkey, Greece, Italy, is most of the New Testament stuff. And of course, some of it, with New Testament, you have some stuff that happens in that Old Testament area there. A lot of it in the central part of Israel, but then like coming down to Egypt and back out. So you have that in the New Testament as well. But again, just kind of starting off with this map, but we talked about 2 other maps. So this was the primary one for the New Testament time period, and so it's looking at the Mediterranean, and Israel down there in the bottom right. So this is showing Paul's journey to Rome. That's what's shown in the arrows that's going across the Mediterranean there. So you're seeing how that runs up and over through the lower side of modern-day Turkey there, and then kind of the islands that you hit along the way, and then up over to Italy. So just want to kind of have that view in our mind again for this particular map. And so that's going to be this blank map that you have. So if you have pencil or pen and you want to fill this out, we can fill out a few things here. So, auditorium class setting, right, these kind of interactive things are a little harder to do for everybody to track, and some of you may not want to do it. Completely up to you. I can't see if you're doing it or not, so it doesn't matter, right? But teaching kids, adults, in the smaller settings, you can use these maps for this and be really helpful. So go ahead and throw some basic stuff up here. And some of these are the list of things. It's kind of that first basic list of stuff from the first 2 lessons from Bob and Sandra's book. But it's just some basic things. And okay, so some of this is washing out a little bit. Mediterranean Sea is what that label is there. But with the other ones, so we'll just talk about a couple of these, and I'll talk about them if you want to be writing them down. So the main country or land areas here, so a couple of these, one is going to be our central core part of Israel there. So that's one main one. Egypt is another one, and again, we're calling this kind of our New Testament map, but you obviously have things that happen in the Old Testament that you're seeing here too, right? So, if you'd have, think about the Exodus, you had that happening down in Egypt. So Israel, one of our main places. Egypt, another main one. Achaia, think about modern-day Greece, or, modern-day Greece is just below that there. The main city we're talking about there is Athens, but if we're thinking about kind of country, land area, Achaia. And then Italy here. So shout out to Lorenzo and Anna and family for Italy there. And then Rome, is the main city there for Italy. So Egypt, Israel, Achaia, modern-day Greece area, Italy. And then the 2, primary cities that are going to go with Italy and Achaia or Greece area being Rome and Athens. And then also through the islands on here, so the islands that you see that show up, the hits on like Paul's journey. And so you'll have Cyprus there on the right, Crete, and then where he is shipwrecked on Malta. I'll give you a few minutes to look and write those down. And of course, this is all, around the Mediterranean Sea. So you can put a lot more stuff on here, and you can take maps, from your Bible or from the lesson book, add a lot to that. But those are just kind of some of the core ones, and that didn't, fill up the whole map with labels that we could label pretty easy there. Okay, so with that, thinking New Testament. So this, again, my favorite map for the moment for Old Testament area, if we're talking about central Israel. So sitting a little bit sideways, and we'll look at the proper, north-south, up and down map in a minute. But really like this, and as I said Sunday, like it because you can see how things are not flat, right? There are flat things, like the coastal plain here is flat, but there's a lot of not flat things. Jordan Valley in the center is actually pretty flat as well, but certainly your central hill country and Transjordan Plateau, not flat. And if you're trying to go across them, not flat at all. So just want to get a sense for that. And then, same area, just looking straight down on a regular north-south map. And, and then the map we're going to label. So on your map for Israel, if you want to juggle around and slide that one up. So this one is going to be water features. So we're going to look at the rivers there on the right side in the Transjordan Plateau, and then also the Jordan River, Dead Sea, and Sea of Galilee. So put those labels up there, but you can't see, right, because it's washing out. But you may, if you got the book, you can see the labels, or you can just, so for the rivers, there's a mnemonic that Rebecca told me about that she credits to Rhonda Andrews. For those rivers on the side, it would be Y-Jazz. So Yarmuk at the top. Jabbok would be the second one. So the Yarmuk, which we talked about and saw some pictures of Sunday. The Jabbok. So since you can't see him, Y-J, if you don't know how to spell him. The Arnon. One easy way you can remember the Arnon is that it tees off just pretty much right in the center of at least that top portion of the Dead Sea, and then the Z-Red at the bottom. So Y-J-A-Z. So that's our four main rivers on that side that we'll talk about quite a bit as the class goes on. So Jordan River, the one right there in the middle. Sea of Galilee up at the top there. And then the Dead Sea. So old hat for most of you. Most everybody knows this. But if you don't, or if you just couldn't, write them down off the top of your head on the maps, it's a good exercise for that. And of course, Mediterranean Sea is that there. All right, so going to look at mainly just some cities. And again, this is just some core cities to put on the map just to have some dots for reference for some of the main maybe distance measurements and things like that we'll talk about as we go through this, this class and lots of the other classes as well. So the city of Dan up there in the top. So you often hear the extents. So you'll be reading in the Bible and you hear Dan to Beersheba. And Beersheba, I always say Beersheba like it is in Hebrew. So Dan up here at the top, just above the Sea of Galilee and the other small lake there. And then Beersheba is going to be right there. And so that's often those extents that you hear. It's about 150 miles. And then some of the other spots. So Jericho is a good one to know. Just above the Dead Sea and to the left of the Jordan, just a little. So it's Jericho there. Jerusalem, tried to put the corner of that box on Jerusalem. So with Jerusalem, as we said Sunday, just come top of the Dead Sea, come over just a little bit. It's coming over into it's on one of the ridges there in the central hill country. Another good place to reference, especially from a New Testament perspective, obviously, is Bethlehem. So just there below Jerusalem. And then through Gaza in there as well, for one of the Philistine cities. So, you think about those 5 main Philistine cities, and Gaza being one of those. And then last, just to mention Jezreel Valley. So Jezreel Valley is a very critical place for the main reason that it funnels a lot of routes, trade routes and travel routes get funneled through the Jezreel Valley. So if you're coming up, and I've got another slide that we may get to later, it's kind of down toward the end, but there's routes along close to the sea. There's a central hill country route that runs through here. Kings Highway runs on this side. There's other smaller ones in between and some that cross over and connect. But so obviously the one over here is not going to connect to the Jezreel Valley, but where the ones do cut across from it, some here and there, everything does essentially funnel through the Jezreel Valley. So if you're traveling and you're coming through this area, you're going to have decision points in the Jezreel Valley once you get into it where you're going out from that. So I thought having that one on our first main primary map would be good to have. Okay. All right, so where I want to go from here, and this is something that Bob and Sandra cover in these lessons too, is some elevation profiles. All right, so what we're about to do is look at two profile maps. And so we're going to have slices going north to south on the first one. So we're going to have one that's essentially running from the coast area, kind of down the coastal plain there. Actually, no. So it's going to start about right in here and run down. I think. Let me just look. Yep. Okay. So it's going to run down through the Central Hill Country. We're going to have another one that's going to cut down through the Judean Valley, and then another one that's going to cut across on the Transjordan Plateau. So what you're seeing here, so the three I just pointed out, so it's those three. So that first one, where you're over there in the Central Hill Country, so you're seeing that first cut of the Mediterranean Sea, so you're seeing kind of that dip area there in the Mediterranean Sea. It's kind of a natural harbor there, and used as a modern day harbor there today. But what I want you to notice about this is, and on this image you probably can see the little blue dotted line, so that's sea level. All right, so what we're doing from this point, as you go to Jerusalem, you're going up, not drastically here, but you are going up to Jerusalem. And you hear people reference, I think Tracy referenced this in his first class, that you hear about going up to Jerusalem, but you're going south, when you're looking at it on the map, but you are going up in elevation. So this is a good view for that. But what you're seeing with the cut through on the Jordan Valley is that you're doing the opposite of what you're doing here. You're starting up here in the north at Dan, get down to the Sea of Galilee, and you keep going down to the Dead Sea, right? So that makes sense. Going up here in elevation, but going down on this one. So the last one, we're looking at that cross section in the Transjordan. And so some of the primary things you're seeing here, of course, Mount Hermon, really high, up close to the north end there. But then you're seeing those river gorges, the Yarmuk, which is not as drastic as some of the others, but the Jabbok, pretty drastic there. The Yarmuk being the one that we saw Sunday morning, the pictures of. But then you have the Arnon. It's a very deep canyon. So I think that's a very good cross-section to get a sense for how those things look. And I've got a few images that we're going to look at after this that's going to be some of these things. So we're going to look at the Mediterranean Sea. We're going to look at the Dead Sea as well, some pictures. Some of the pictures kind of like what we've already seen, but just to cover them again. And actually, we'll go ahead. I'll skip that one for the moment. And so this is the Sea of Galilee. Don't think we looked at the Sea of Galilee picture Sunday morning, but so you're looking. So you're on the west side of the Sea of Galilee, looking east and a little bit northeast. So this is the north end of the Sea of Galilee there. So what I want you to see here now, and you can't really tell in the picture, being that the colors are a little bit washed together, but that little crop right there. So that's ground level, like where we're standing, taking that picture. So if you could see on around to the left, there's a ridge that runs around to the left, very much similar to the ridges over there, but they drop off there at the north end. So you're still going up an incline where you're going up from the north shore. So it's inclined, but it's not like high mountain areas. Whereas where we're standing here and where you would be standing over there, it is high mountain area. So the Sea of Galilee, I mean, it really is in a bowl. It's like a cereal bowl. It's deep bowl-like. You can see that. So the next shot is going to be so you're looking here, we're about to just turn slightly to the right. And so that's, ground level where we're standing up there. But that also, kind of gives you a sense for it's down in a bowl, right? So with the Sea of Galilee, it's about 12 miles north to south. So when you're standing there looking at it from the side, like east or west side, you can see in your peripheral, you can see all of it for the most part. Can't really get a good picture of it unless you've got a really good wide angle lens. But that just gives you a sense for that elevation, what you're dealing with there, up toward the Sea of Galilee. So this shot, so that first one we looked at was this. This map is cross sections going east to west. So you've got the one cross section up there in the north, shooting over toward the Sea of Galilee. This one is pretty much right in the central. And you think of Shechem, so we're hitting Shechem on that. That kind of helps you tells you where that is. Mount Ebal, Mount Gerizim is there as well. And then the cross section here is hitting right at the the middle of at least that top part of the Dead Sea. And so with this, so these it's somewhat similar in the exaggeration, but as you can tell, so as you're getting further south, obviously things are getting wider because the sea cuts out to the left. So it's getting wider. But it does get a little more exaggerated as far as elevations and the dips as you get further south, right? And so some of the primary points here, so Sea of Galilee again, Mount Ebal, and where Shechem is. And so I have a couple images to look at that, and also the Dead Sea. That's Sea of Galilee. So this is Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim. So Mount Ebal on the right side there, it's north, and then Mount Gerizim is on the left side there. Shechem would be down here. And, all I want you to see with this image is just get a sense for where we're looking at that cross section of elevation. This is some of that central hill country elevation that you would have to deal with if you're traveling through there. All right, so this photo, like some we looked at Sunday, so this is the Dead Sea, close to the top of the Dead Sea, but looking north and west. And so, what you're seeing there is where that's the Jordan Valley drop-off. Wilderness of Judea is up here on the top in this area, and you're dropping off into the Jordan Valley, Dead Sea area. That view is looking from the top of the Dead Sea, close to the top, and looking across the Jordan Valley and over to the Transjordan. So, you're coming back up out of the Jordan Valley, and that's your Transjordan Plateau there. So again, that series of images is just to kind of show some of those elevation differences that we're looking at in those cross sections. Okay, so this is something we introduced this on Sunday morning. This map with these you may want to make these 1, 2, 3, 4s across your Israel map, your central Israel map. But to cover these again, so introduce them, the 4: coastal plain, the hill country, Jordan Valley, Transjordan Plateau. So keep saying that over and over again because it's critical. If you're traveling through here, you're having to deal with these landforms. Again, in your Bible stories where if God is not doing something to help or prevent or affect the travel of whoever's traveling through the land, these forms you're going to have to interact with them. Whether you're going north to south and you're staying on that central hill country ridge route, like a lot of people would do, or if you're traveling out next to the sea, or if you're trying to go across, you're going to be crossing these, and it's going to factor into the story, telling the story. Again, those elevations, the heat, temperature, things like that. So all of that is going to factor in to traveling around. And so Sunday, so these will be the same pictures to kind of keep us oriented with the pictures we saw Sunday morning. So this is from a site, it's either Gath or a site close to it, that is looking out toward the Mediterranean Sea. So what you're seeing here is flat coastal plain. As you approach this tail, some ancient hill that had a city on it, as you approach it, you're getting into Shephelah, which is a little more bit gently rolling hills, but it's not the central hill country yet. But very flat, a little bit of rolling hill, and then it gets more rolling hills. It gets into the central hill country. And so we've got some videos tonight for these different areas as well, and hopefully it will help to show how some of this works and how it plays out. So this first video, So I guess first, so I'll show you how this video is going to work is, so right there is Jaffa. So, modern day as well as ancient, and also the modern day city of Tel Aviv in Israel. And so there's a road that comes down and connects through the Keselon Valley there. And so the road comes in, connects here, and then goes to Jerusalem. So what this video is going to show is modern day road construction that is going on there. So road's already there, but they're improving it. And so it's about the road construction, but as you see this and as we go through it, it helps you to see what traveling through the central hill country would be like if you're going from the coast over to Jerusalem. And so where this video is going to start, and the video will actually tell you this in some of it as well, it's going to start right about in this area. We start a couple minutes into it, so we may actually skip that first part, but it'll certainly pick up in this area and as you get on to Jerusalem. Nope, I just explained the second video. This is the first video. We're still doing the coastal plain. Okay, so remember all that for about 4 minutes from now. So what this is going to be is, this is definitely from the side of Gath, this video. So we're going to be at Gath right here, and we're going to be looking out toward the coastal plain. So that's the ancient hill, and you'll see some of the excavations here in a minute. And James, this is the one where I'm going to have you to stop in a couple places. All right, so what you're seeing back there, Central Hill Country kind of hills. This is kind of a similar view. Okay, be ready to stop, but not yet. Okay, stop right there. So this view, and you can X out the suggested videos there. If you see the X over there on the right, or just stop there, that's fine. So with this view, so from Gath, when you're looking across this modern day power plant, you're looking directly at the Mediterranean. So you really can't see it there in this shot, but that is coastal plain, flat, very flat. Okay, you can go ahead with the video. And I'm going to stop right there as well. Yep. Okay, so we're a little bit past it, but right there is kind of a transition from, so we were looking out toward the Sea of Galilee. We're starting to pan around going north. So as we're panning around going north, right about in here. So to me, I see that transition right there from the coastal plain flat to the Shephelah, rolling hills. So that kind of gives you a sense for that. Okay, you can go ahead. And stop right there. So roughly there, about here, is where you're all getting in more to the central hill country. So you can see one set of hills there, but you can see another in the background there. So it's that kind of 3-layer transition. So if you can, just start that video over. So I'll let you just watch through this now so you can see what we just described. You can just restart that slide over. It'll start at about 2 minutes. Yeah, there you go. So mostly a central hill country look there, kind of the same here, but it's that next scene and cut where you'll start looking over the power plant, coastal plain, Shephelah, and then Judean hills. Okay, we'll just let this play for a minute. So something that, not really for part of the class tonight, but you're about to see some of the excavation areas. And what's kind of neat about this is you can see, if you're not familiar with it or haven't seen top-down shots of excavations, you'll just kind of see how that works. So there, how it's laid out in the different excavation squares. You got the walls there, usually called balks, so just your separating walls of different squares that are excavated. You'll also see some material, some of it there and there. They call that geotech. So it's just protection fabric that you can put over it. So when you're finished with the excavation for the season and you want to pick back up in that spot, it helps protect it, keep it from eroding over the rainy season. And if this was actually an active excavation, you would actually have tarps over the areas that are being excavated. So these are some good shots and just some examples of some stuff we'll see in later lectures. And, again, it's showing the tell, but again, you can see what we're going for, those views there right now, what that looks like, what that feels like. Okay, so if you want to click and give me back control. Okay, so that was coastal plain. So what this one is going to be is central hill country. So this is the image that we use for that on Sunday morning, just outside of Jerusalem. So this video, okay, all that stuff I said 4 minutes ago now, is all that. That's this, what we're looking at. So I'll go ahead and let this start. And give me the audio on this one.
Unfortunately, when the highway was built in the 1970s, this section of the highway was quarried through the hill instead of cutting a tunnel. Now, with the widening of the road, a huge gouge has been taken out of the hill. Behind us at Kiryat Jearim, the elevation was 715 meters above sea level. The road drops over 100 meters into the Keselon Valley. Tons of fill has been laid to raise the level of the valley floor. Now the ascent out of the Keselon Valley. Note the openings of 2 tunnels through which the highway will pass under the modern town of Mevaseret. The tunnels are to be 700 meters long. In the Bible, this ridge is called Mount Ephron, which is along the border between the tribes of Judah and Benjamin. In fact, the modern highway from Kiryat Jearim to Jerusalem follows right along the border between the allotments of Judah to our right and Benjamin to our left. The Mevaseret shopping mall is on the left. A new mall, named after the grocery store Rami Levy, is under construction here on the right. Looking down the main highway is the dirt where the tunnels emerge from the hill. Here is another view showing the descent of the highway into the Sorek Valley that flanks the western side of Jerusalem. The outskirts of Jerusalem are visible on the horizon. For just a moment, we reverse direction, coming out of the Sorek Valley heading west to see the amount of fill being dumped in preparation for the road coming in and out of the valley. Now heading east again. From Mevaseret into the Sorek Valley is a 550-foot drop, 170 meters. In the bottom of the valley are the pylons, which will support a 6-lane bridge designed to straighten the curve in the highway, known locally as the Motza Death Bend. A section of the bridge is taking shape. The bridge will join the highway on the final ascent to Jerusalem, which is visible on the horizon. The Jerusalem highway ascends along the bridge, an upper road in this picture. The road below it descends back into the valley and passes by Jerusalem's north side. The pylons are the beginnings of a bridge for a high-speed train that will connect Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. For those familiar with the Satellite Bible Atlas, the area of the Jerusalem highway construction can be seen on map 1-8. The Tel Aviv-Jerusalem highway comes through the Keselon Valley in the Shephelah. Our video starts at the seam between the Shephelah and hill country at a place today called Sha'ar Hagai, meaning the Gate of the Valley. The modern highway is visible on the map as a thin white strip. Our video follows the modern highway ascending up past Shoresh, biblical Mount Seir, to Kiryat Jearim. Remember that Jerusalem is separated from Kiryat Jearim by two deep valleys, the Keselon Valley and the even deeper Upper Sorek. The highway descends into the Keselon Valley and then up to Mount Ephron, modern Mevaseret. Here the tunnels will take the road to the other side of the ridge and then down into the Upper Sorek Valley, where the 800-meter bridge will span the valley before the highway makes its final ascent into Jerusalem.
Okay, so with that, you really get a good sense for. So we're talking about modern roads, and they're improving that modern road. But you can see how, making that trip from the coast inland, how even now they're trying to improve it with, the bridges that they talked about, the tunnels. And so just kind of think about that and how even with the modern road that's already there, they're trying to improve that and make it better and what it's taken to do that. So I think that can give a good sense for, how difficult. You're driving in a car, so not that difficult, but how difficult the travel can or could be today, especially if you're trying to do it on foot. So, the other thing too, so that's the Satellite Bible Atlas. So just, highly recommend it. That's where most of these maps are coming from that I'm using, beside the Scott Richardson maps, the color ones that you see, I've seen so far. So really good Bible Atlas. You're going to see it in all of my presentations. And it's like $35 on Amazon. So, if you find it helpful at all, if you're going to be teaching, I highly recommend it. And then you can find the videos on YouTube that go with it that we've been using as well. So that's Central Hill Country. So now we're going to look at, and these are the images from Sunday morning again for Jordan Valley. So looking at Dead Sea there. And that I clicked past was northern Jordan Valley. So going to do two videos of that as well. So those two spots we just looked at in the photos. So we're going to be here at Beit Shan and also here at the top of the Dead Sea. And the two videos we're going to do for it will show us that. So this is looking at the ancient site tell of Beit Shan, looking north. So this is going to pick up and spin around. And probably won't stop on any of these, but I'll point out a few things as it's spinning around. Starts off a little slow, but then it'll get up and spin around. So if you're prone to motion sickness, you may not want to watch. All right, so looking north, turning west. And so, you're down in the Jordan Valley already with this one. But you can see the ridge coming up on the other side where the Jordan Valley comes back up over there. Jordan River down in this area. It's looking almost directly east now. Jordan River, you can see the green going up through there. And kind of hard to see with the angle of the curve, but right there is where it's dropping off. Right there is where it's picking up. So that's like a northeast look. And again, that's the northern Jordan Valley. And then it's coming back around to where it started. All right, so it's North Jordan Valley. This will be South Jordan Valley, so down at the Dead Sea, obviously. So that's a really, really, really great shot right there. So this is going to be the edge of the Judean Wilderness, and where the Judean Wilderness drops off into the Jordan Valley. And of course, you're looking at Dead Sea there. That's a really nice shot. And so this view is from there, but kind of turned back around toward the west, looking back toward inside of Israel. And so this is that Judean Wilderness, or down into an area that usually called the Southern Highlands. And I think it's this next frame. It's a really, really beautiful shot. Yeah, so check that out, almost like a lunar-like type landscape. And so just think about this and looking at it, how different this is from the Central Hill Country. And the Central Hill Country is not that far away. Not far away at all. But this is drastically different, and that's where you can see it. That's a good shot of it dropping back off as well. All right, so the last one we want to get in is the Transjordan Plateau. So looking at the sea of the Dead Sea there, but we're on the east side of it now, looking west. And it looks somewhat similar to the other side, but also a little bit different as well. So let this play. Now, and this is an ancient site too. This hilltop here. This is one of Herod's palaces that's on that east side of the Dead Sea. So Herod had two palaces down there. One was on the east side, one on the west side. And the site we're looking at is that, but not really looking for the site here, but trying to get a sense for what it looks like across the landscape of the Transjordan Plateau there. This one also spins a little bit too. And it'll stop spinning right about here. And then the shot comes back up and you can see the area around. Yeah, and then that's a shot, kind of like the first, where we're looking back out toward the Dead Sea. But really beautiful. Very difficult terrain if you're going to walk across it, but very beautiful. And that's the end. Perfect timing.
Good evening. It's good to see everyone out tonight. On April 26, 2003, Aaron Ralston was solo climbing down Blue John Canyon in Utah. As he was descending the cliff face, he dislodged a boulder and it trapped his arm against the face of the cliff. And pretty early on, he realized there was only one real solution. To get free, he was going to have to cut off that arm. And he stayed stuck on that cliff face for 5 days. And it was on day 5 that, in a delirious state due to lack of food, lack of water, extreme temperatures, he got that grit, that determination, as he put it, the anger to do that. And he did it. He cut his arm off and tied a tourniquet so that he didn't bleed out. He managed to get to the ground, and some hikers helped him until the search and rescue helicopter got there. Well, why do I start by telling you this? It's because we've all got something pinning us to a cliff face or shackling us to the bottom of the sea, to use a Aladdin reference. There's something pinning us down, and it's going to kill us. Romans 6, verse 23 says, "For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus our Lord." Sin will kill us. There's no doubt about that. Sin is pinning us to the rock, shackling us to the bottom of the sea. It's heavy. It's crushing. It's like this heavy chest pain that just never goes away. And everyone has it. Well, I say everyone has it. Everyone has had it. Romans 3:23 says, "For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God." We've all had this crushing pain, this tightness, this stuck, trapped feeling. But Jesus offers to take that load from us. In Matthew chapter 11, in verses 29 and 30, he says, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." He is willing to take that weight from us, that load. But he requires us to cut it off, to completely remove ourselves from it, whatever the cost. Turn to Matthew 5. Matthew 5. We'll start in verse 29. "If your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out and cast it from you. For it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and cast it from you. For it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into hell." We have to cut that sin away from us. We don't just cut it off, we cast it away. That's not the same as receiving forgiveness, but it's a vital step. It's showing that true repentance, that repentance from godly sorrow produces that desire to change, to put that away from us so that we can meet Christ in baptism. And it's through baptism alone that we can be saved, according to Mark 16:16. "Whoever believes and is baptized will be saved, but whoever does not believe will be condemned." Okay, so maybe you've been baptized before. Maybe you've been cleansed, but you've wandered away. Something has snagged you, and you're pinned again against something that you need to cut off, something that you need to cast away from you. Now is the time to cut that away and be renewed to Christ. When Aaron Ralston was facing death on that cliff, he said that the decision to cut his arm off, it was easy by the time he decided to do it. He said, "The detachment had already happened in my mind. It's rubbish. It's going to kill you. Get rid of it, Aaron. It's It's no longer my arm." He detached himself from his arm days before he did it. He knew it was going to kill him. It was going to keep him trapped. That's what gave him the grit, the determination to do it. Let's have that same determination, that same grit, that same desire through godly sorrow to put away whatever is trapping us, whatever is ensnaring us. If we can help you to do that tonight, please come as we stand and sing.